When you picture Benjamin Franklin, your mind probably jumps straight to the kite, the key, maybe the bifocals. We see him as the brilliant inventor, the wise statesman. But let's look at him through a completely different lens, not as an inventor of things, but as the architect of systems. The guy who literally designed the networks that would hold a brand new nation together.
So what does that even mean, to be an architect of a country? Well, it's about way more than just helping write a declaration. It's about building the practical day-to-day structures that let a bunch of different places actually become a single nation. And for Franklin, that whole massive project started with a very basic problem.
Take a look at this map from the 18th century. You see a few lines here and there connecting the big towns, but mostly, it's just vast empty space. Back in the early 1700s, America just wasn't a connected place. It was a bunch of colonies where if you wanted to send a message, you'd give it to a friend, a merchant, or just leave it in a tavern and hope someone was going your way. There was no real system.
And this is where Franklin, our architect, rolls up his sleeves. His first great project wasn't a building or an invention. It was America's very first information network, the postal system.
And this contrast right here tells the whole story. On the left, that's the old way, a letter dropped at a bar. Who knows if we'll ever get there? But on the right, that's Franklin's vision, a scheduled, organized system built for one thing: reliability. He saw the chaos and knew he had to build a network.
And listen, this wasn't some quick job. It was a long game. He starts way back in 1737, working for the British Crown in Philadelphia. By 53, he's running the whole colonial operation. But then, check this out. By 1774, the Crown fires him because he's getting a little too American. And what happens the very next year? The Continental Congress turns right around and says, yep, you're our guy. He built the Crown system so well that the brand new nation knew he was the only person who could build theirs.
Now, he wasn't just a manager sitting in an office. He was a hands-on guy. He literally traveled thousands of miles on horseback, surveying the roads himself. He put up milestones so riders could track their speed. He started night riding, which cut delivery times in half. And he even brought in a simple accounting method because he understood that to build a huge system, you have to get all the little details right. So what was the result of all this work? Well, in 1760, for the first time in its history, the colonial postal system actually turned a profit. Franklin wasn't just connecting people, he was building a self-sustaining, efficient engine for communication. He proved a public service could actually be a well-run business.
And that is the real takeaway here. The postal system basically became the circulatory system for the colonies. It's how newspapers, ideas, and revolutionary fervor started to travel, creating a shared American conversation that just hadn't existed before. But this urge to build systems, it wasn't just about the mail. It was a pattern that you can see throughout his entire life.
I mean, seriously, this was a pattern for him. He creates the first lending library so people can share knowledge. He starts a fire brigade for public safety. He establishes the American Philosophical Society for sharing big ideas. For Franklin, innovation wasn't about getting rich. It was for the public good. He was constantly spotting a need in the community and then architecting a solution for everyone.
But the very same architect who spent his life building America's systems would use his final days to point out the most profound, most terrible flaw in its entire design.
Just try to picture this. He's 84 years old. He's frail. He's just a couple of months away from death. And yet, as the president of Pennsylvania's Abolition Society, he writes one last petition to the new United States Congress. And this wasn't just another letter. This was his closing argument. The language he uses is just so powerful and direct. He calls out the stunning hypocrisy of a nation that's celebrating its own freedom while holding other people in perpetual bondage. He's forcing this new government to look right at the people it had left out of its great promise. And this right here, this is pure Franklin the strategist. He's not just making a moral plea. He's making a constitutional one. He's essentially telling Congress, look, I helped create this government. I know exactly what powers you have, and I'm telling you to use every single ounce of them to end this.
And right here, he frames slavery not as a political issue or an economic one, but as a stain on the character of the American people. The man who had designed so many of America's defining systems was now calling for a fundamental redesign of its soul.
So how do we put these two massive parts of his life together? The builder and the challenger. It's really this powerful duality, isn't it? For most of his life, he was the ultimate connector, weaving the country together with post roads and libraries and civic groups. But in his final act, he became the nation's conscience, using the very systems of dialogue he helped create to send one last urgent message about the country's deepest moral failing.
And that just leaves us with this huge question. Franklin didn't just give America its first national network. He also gave it one of its first and most profound national challenges. That network is still here, of course, and it's faster and more powerful than he ever could have dreamed. But the challenge? The challenge is still here too. The real question is, are we using the systems he helped build to finally answer it?